traders. This is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I thought I'd show you guys a quick picture of me, like maybe about 6.5 hours ago. So some friends of ours that came in from Dallas, and he's you can't tell in this picture. That guy is like 6'7". We call him the Yeti, but his wife is I mean they were some friends of ours in Dallas, and my wife and his wife knew each other from like a mom's group like years ago, and she just ran, this is really cool. She ran the Boston Marathon this year. She ran the Boston Marathon with her father. This is me right here. That's my mom. That's my wife. And those are our friends, and we were at a place called Postino's last night. Anyway, yeah, she ran the Boston Marathon with her father. How cool is that? Yeah, her dad's 70. So, isn't that cool? Yeah. Anyway, we had fun last night. Unfortunately, it was a late night, and I'm sucking some wind. So. Late for me, not late for a normal person, just late for me. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at the euro dollar, and we'll start with the euro. Let's get through all of our analysis this morning. So, all right. So here's the euro dollar. Now, we broke through all the support yesterday, and we were just kind of waiting for a move out of there. Okay. And thank you, Thomas. He said, "What a lovely pick." Thanks. It was nice. Yeah, it was old friends that we hadn't seen in a long time. We'd there. She works for, I forget what brokerage firm. She has to run around. She runs around all through the United States, checking. She has to walk every property that they own every year. So she travels quite a bit. Yeah, so anyway, all right. And that's what she was doing out here. Okay, so here's the euro dollar. And as you can see, major support is going to come into play around 108.15. So the low here is 108. Well, it's 108.26 actually. And we're at 108.90. So I guess the question is, do we test this 108.20 level? It's 108.18, I'm sorry. 26 is the previous time interval. So it's 108.18. So 108.20 is obviously huge support. 1.0820. Period, end of story. That's really big support. And let's see how, and I'm going to delete all this just because that's yesterday's news, obviously. Let's do this. Now, the 127% extension of this last move higher, think Greece, right? Low, high, 127% now that we've broken down, comes in at 108.30, roughly. So how important is the low here based on what we're seeing here? It's huge. Huge support. So this 108.20 level to be enormous support. We got 127% extension that leads us right there. And I mean, if you guys want to go long the euro, which I don't understand why you would really want to, other than if you're just trying to play a bounce, that's probably the place to do it. Okay? Now you have to think post-ECB, and I guess the question is, what is the ECB going to say? And does Mario Draghi allude to the idea that upon completion of 18 months of quantitative easing, maybe he says, we're looking to maybe extend our current program. Paul might be listening in, and I've got to ask if he knows how far into the QE program are we into? We've got to be into our at least halfway through that 18-month program. We've got to be at least 9 or 10 months into it. So I'm
Hey,
just
Blake.
thinking, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know the program ends in September 2016, so we're probably about what a quarter way into it, I believe, at the most.
Is it December 2016?
No, September 2016.
Oh, September 2016. Okay, so we have another year to go.
Oh yeah,
So
year and was it? What? Yeah,
year
you're
and
right.
a
So
couple
we're
months.
further
Yeah.
along. So we've got a
Well,
year and
yeah.
2 months to go.
So we're a third. We're a third through. Okay. All right.
Yeah, third through. You're right.
Thank you. Right off the trying to think how many months we've been doing this. All right. So I guess the question is, maybe they allude to the fact of what they're going to do. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little too early for them to do that, but regardless, thanks, Paul. As long as the euro stays below that trend line, I don't think there's any reason to really think that this range is, we're in this range. Okay, so we're still in a big range. I mean, if you look at the bigger structure of the euro here since spring, to really keep us in this range that we're currently in, we're going to have to break back above 109. I guess that comes in at 109 60, maybe 109.50 by the time we get there, which makes sense. I mean, if you do this, okay, if you look at previous support acting as current resistance, it's the downtrend line comes in at 109.62. So 1.0962, and we're still in a range, but man, we're threatening to turn bearish here. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, a little push with gold. Little push with gold, and we'll probably go right through that support. Everything's really, carefully walking that line. The euro is carefully walking that line right now. All right, let's go take a look at the cable. Um, so the pound's holding above, or well, it was. Well, what just happened? I was just going to say the pound's holding above 156, and what the hell just happened? Oh wow, look at that. This is the 1 minute chart. I was just going to mention the pound still holding above 156, and I didn't notice that it went. Yes, is what it did. So the so the pound started to crack lower, and we're coming into some support here. 155.75. Did I don't see any news coming out. Okay. Well, anyway. Just a little bit of selling came in. Actually, I'll need that. Okay, that right there is what I think is going to be very important. Okay, and I'm going to check something else, but you can see here. You can see why. There. Obviously, you know that comes in at 155.50. Now, before we go too far here, low to high, 38% retracement is right there at the same price. So it just 10 pips below. So 155.50 support for the cable right now, just in case things start to feel a little downside pressure here. Resistance is it looks like the overnight high. See that spike high right there that happened sometime in Europe? 156.50. Okay, still in a range. Um, ECB is about ready to make their decision on interest rates. They're not going to do anything, so I doubt the euro is going to move here. But it's not like they're going to lower rates. So the ECB, they have their rates at 0.05%. They're not moving them any. They're not moving them any lower. Um, so it should be a non-event. Let me see here. World of ZERP, right? World of ZERP. That's what we're dealing with. Should be no movement. A few seconds, guys. Yeah, they leave rates unchanged. Yep. Okay, it's not doing anything. And we move along. Let's go over to the Swissy. All right, so here's the Swissy, and that's a 1 minute chart. I don't want to stare at that. So yesterday, Greece approved the the bailout in Parliament, somewhere around here, and I went long the Swissy at 95.29. So I'm sitting in it now. Now it's not quite a full size position. I wanted to get past the ECB today, and then I'm going to add to it. As long as the euro stays, maybe below 109, I'll probably add to the dollar Swiss long. But you'll notice we are trying to break out now. We're at highs that we have not seen since April. Okay, and the Swissy, like I said, institutions don't want to hold Swiss francs long, and if there is not much of a risk of Greece completely capitulating, then there's just really no reason to hold it. So there are a lot of institutions are probably going to be selling their Swiss francs. Banks will be. So I am expecting us to see a move higher from here. So now the question is, how high can we go, or where are we going to start? Where are we going to struggle? So at 96 cents, we have a 50% retracement, and that's from the March highs to May lows. 50% retracement comes in right at 96 cents. So resistance initial will be 96 cents. Now it's only a 50% retracement, so. And I'm going to put in the word near-term bullish, because as long as we can hold this breakout point, this is turning bullish here. We're ultimately in a huge, huge range, but that doesn't mean that we can't be bullish here for a move up towards 98 cents, maybe even parity, depending on how strong the dollar gets. But it's turning bullish now. The euro's still in a range. Euro gets below 108.15, and we'll probably turn bearish in the euro. But the dollar Swiss, it's bullish for now. Okay, and support's going to be at 95.40, obviously, but I want to look at maybe even support as being down here. And as long as we stay above 95.10, I have no reason to get out of this trade. Okay. So the Swissy has now turned bullish. Let's go over to the yen. I did short the yen. If you missed it earlier this morning, I shorted at 124, basically 01. The reason why is the E-mini futures are up against resistance, so I want to be, I'm still short the Aussie yen. I did want to short some dollar yen, so I did short some. Okay, and there's going to be a ton of resistance through here. A ton. Look at all the moves. Spike high moves into the 124.40 area, so that'll be pretty key resistance. 124.40 key resistance. Overall, this has been a real big range environment. Okay, so and I think we've had range written down in the dollar yen since through here, and then it turned bullish for a while, but very choppy, chop city. You know what? Let me remove that really quick. Eyeballing something here. Huh. Okay. So 124.40. Relative strength, even though we're pushing higher, is still diverging. But where is support? Well, support's right here, actually. Because if you look at that, okay, let me go ahead and grab a different. I'm gonna grab a different line here. That comes in at 123.65. So be careful with this while it's above 123.65. Okay. All right, let's go take a look at the Canadian. I mean, could you believe the Canadian was up 100, 200 pips yesterday? What a great move. Hopefully a lot of you guys capitalized on that. I'm still long, but it's only about a half-size position because I took a quarter of what I owned yesterday. Unfortunately, we have in the United States, if you have a brokerage account in the U.S., we go with FIFO, right? So unfortunately, when I took my profits yesterday, and it recalculated my cost average. My cost average on the dollar Canadian now is 126.20, 126.24 actually. But my cost average yesterday was 124.80. The problem is I sold some, and when I sell some, it takes my earlier positions, the ones that I bought, in the 120, low 124s, 123, it took those off the table, and so it brought my cost average up. But regardless, I mean, the Canadians in major breakout territory right now, obviously. And I have a bid at 128.50. I was hoping for a dip down to 128.30. Nothing happened. Okay. So anyway, if we get a dip down to 128.30, I mean, well, I just don't even know if we're going to get it. That's the problem. George says we all should have such big problems with calculating cost average. Yeah, I know. It's such a pain in the ass. So right now we're support at 129, resistance at 129.60. I mean, but key resistance for for the dollar Canadian is right here, and I sent this out to our Wise Trade traders yesterday, but I want you guys to see it. What do you have here? Um, I want to take a moment and stop here. What do you have with the dollar Canadian? Can you see that? What chart pattern do we have here? Correct, Bennett, Sean, Alan, Daryl, Esther, Lorraine, Michael, Kelly, Clay, Kevin, George, Rick. Rick. Did you just say grown caterpillar? George? What the hell kind of answer was that? Ron? This is Adam, correct. This is a cup and handle pattern. I know a lot of you are like, what? Okay. Okay. We have a cup and handle pattern. Now, I know I'm already looking at it as a flag, but I had a bunch of, when I say a bunch, for me it was a bunch. I had a half a dozen people yesterday either approach me and ask this, or I read it in a couple places. People are now targeting 160 with the dollar Canadian. I'm like 160. I'm like, where the hell you come up with that number? I'm sitting here looking at it, going, well, I'm targeting 140. Okay, I'm targeting 140. That's flag pattern. You guys know I blogged about it. Blah blah blah. Great 140. And then I started to look at it, and I was like, wait a second. That's a cup and handle pattern. I'm like, if that's a cup and handle pattern, and look, we go from cup rim to the bottom of the cup. Then you take it like this, and oh my God, that takes us back to 160. Rounded bottom, cup and handle, soup kitchen, whatever you want to call it. There's the potential for the Canadians got a lot of potential. And the thing is if you look back, it's not outside of the scope that it's been before. That we were there 15 years ago. And if you think about the argument behind the dollar Canadian rallying to 160 or thereabouts, you have Canada that is likely to dip into a recession, correct? You have crude oil, which my argument, it's structurally broken. And it will be, many of you will agree with me on this. Crude will stay lower for a lot longer than people seem to want to believe. You're going to have constant pressure out of the Middle East, keeping crude oil prices down. Everybody in the Middle East is now trying to flush all the frackers here in the U.S. out of the market. They're going to try to suppress prices because that's, just kind of getting rid of competition. But at the same time, fracking technology continues to improve. So you're going to have this long, drawn-out battle of oversupply of crude and prices low for a long time. And as technology continues to, people look at, electric cars and electric vehicles and Tesla and American automakers and Asian automakers, and now BMW, really, really embracing, you know, um, electric vehicles. It's going to be less and less, demand for black gold. Anyway, if you think about that longer term, and then you think about the Bank of Canada and the FOMC going in opposite directions, where does that put the dollar Canadian? Where? I don't think imagining a dollar Canadian currency exchange rate at 155 to 160 over the course of a year and a half to 2 years is really that bold of a call. Yeah, euro new lows. I see it. Thank you, Patrick. Something to think about, guys. Something to think about. All right, so I just realized what time it is, and I've got to get moving here. Sorry, I'm moving in slow motion today. Like I said, I was out late last night. I only got like 4 hours of sleep, which for me is not a good thing. All right, so support 129, resistance 129.60, so 129, 1.2960, and I hope that the Canadian dips to 128.50 or 128.30 rather. I am a buyer. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes. When we come back, we'll do the Kiwi, the Aussie, dollar index, anything else we can get our hands on. So don't go anywhere. Thanks everybody for being here. All right, guys and gals, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar, and yeah, the euro continues to hit new lows. The dollar yen's actually at highs, underwater a little bit, and the dollar yen's short. Dollar Swiss is grinding higher at its highs of the day, and the Kiwi and the Aussie look, pretty sickly right now. And the cable's actually pretty heavy too. Um, and we're going to have to continue on here, but boy, I'll tell you, you got to keep your eye on the U.S. dollar, Swedish krona, especially if the euro dollar breaks out today to the downside, meaning breaks out to the downside. Um, and look at the dollar is just perpetuating higher right now. Yes, it is. George says if you were tired, no need to trade today. British Open is on all day. I know. Believe me, I'll be watching British Open highlights pretty much all day long. All right, let's and thank you for the reminder. But yes. All right, let's go over to the Kiwi and the Aussie. So here's the Kiwi. We got to get these out of the way, and I'm going to address some of your questions. So here's the Kiwi. So we stalled at the 161% extension. What did we write down? Can you guys give me the support from yesterday? Kiwi support yesterday? It was 65.20, wasn't it? What did we write down yesterday for Kiwi support? Anybody? Can you help me out? 66.60? 66.60. Wow, really? 66.60? Like way up here? Like here? Yesterday? Wait, trying to go back 24 hours. Wow. 750. My God. We just felt, I mean, we really just literally crap the bed. All right. Okay, so look where we're at. That's amazing. I mean, we just completely crap the bed, which sucks because I'm not short the Kiwi, which, obviously I can sit here and I'm going to boohoo about it. Oh, you know what it was? That's what it was. Is because the Bank of Canada. It was the dairy auction results. You know, the dairy auction results, you know, actually, I think CPI last night came in worse than expected, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it came in worse than expected last night. So there was a bunch of stuff that hit the kiwi. All right, so here we are. Um, that's right. It was the bank. I was so focused on the Canadian yesterday that I wasn't really paying attention to the kiwi. I knew it was moving, but it wasn't like, you know, front and center on my screen. That's right. Okay. Anyway, so we're sitting on pretty key support. Now, let's go out to the weekly charts. So as we approach 64, if you look at, and I want to make sure the numbers are as precise as we can get them here. High, or excuse me, low to high, 64, roughly about 64.20. And look how far away we are. We're 100 pips away from that. That's the 618 retracement of the last 7 years of trading. And there's a confluence there of the 50% retracement of the last couple of decades worth of trading. Okay. So obviously we're going to have a lot of support here between the 63 to 64 cent level. Obviously that's got to, it gets my attention. It's got to get your attention. Do you know, are you guys, do you guys remember when I originally, bought the pound Canadian? Do you know what I was targeting when I bought the, I'm sorry, pound Canadian, when I bought the pound New Zealand down at 2, maybe 199 or 2? Do you remember what our upside target in the pound New Zealand was? Hold on, let me just go this way. 240, right? So let me pull it up this way. There's a reason why I'm telling you guys all this, so just hold on for a second. Okay, so now let's go to pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand weekly inverted head and shoulder pattern points to almost 3,000 pips higher. Pound New Zealand inverted head and shoulder pattern points to 240. Okay? Now, let's go back to, oops, we're already on the chart. Here's live chart. Let's zoom in a little bit. Whoops. Stop there. So, let's do this. What's the low here? 241. The low's at 241. Okay. 241. We're almost at trendline resistance. The New Zealand dollar is 100 pips off of major support. So do you think that the pound New Zealand's probably a pretty good short up here? If the Kiwi drops another 100 pips, I'm shorting the pound New Zealand. Are y'all with me? I mean, you know, remember, pound New Zealand, we've been looking at this and trading it to the long side since, well, for a while, but I mean, you know, that's May, you know, 2 months ago. And we're here. We're basically here. We're a couple hundred pips from being here. So I'm stepping in front of that pound New Zealand when we get to 241. Gonna do it. So anyway, previous support, downtrend line, but most importantly, the Kiwi will be at major confluence support 100 pips from now. So, I mean, are we going to go there today? I guess I don't know if we're going to go there today, but I would say 64.95 is support for now. Well, 60 here. Let's go 64.20 major. 0.6495. Those are support levels right now. And the Kiwi, we were just in yesterday. It was yesterday, wasn't it? Wasn't it yesterday? And we were, or maybe it was 2 days ago. I remember going, it looks like it wants to squeeze higher, but I think it looked too easy. It looked too easy, so therefore it's not. And then, man, we just rolled over hard. And yes, I did not short it. Now, any bounce back to 66.20 is just a big thank you if we get up there. The Greek gods will be speaking. We're bearish. Aussie. Aussie bounced off of the 127% extension. Of the last move. Perfectly, right? Low, high, 127% extension. So 73.50 is support. 74.05 is resistance. Pretty easy. 0.7350 is support. 0.7405 is resistance. We're in a bearish trend. Okay. Let's go to the dollar index. Dollar index is approaching major resistance here. That comes in at, let's just say that 97.80, actually 98. Okay, so resistance 97.80, 98.00. Those are resistance levels, and we're in a range, but man, we're getting close to busting a move here. Very close to busting a move. Support. Let's just call it 97. Okay. And one last pair I want to take a look at. Is gold falling? Oh, gold new lows. Who would have thunk? Gold new lows. Brief new lows, but new lows nonetheless. Swedish krona. Gotta watch this one. Speaking of cup and handle formation, if the euro breaks out today, $8.60 for those of you guys that trade it. I'm gonna stop for a moment here in a second. You don't hear me say this all the time, so I'm gonna stop once I finish this Swedish krona. 840 is support. Okay, let's stop here. So let me take a step back for a second and let me ask you guys a question. And if you don't mind, answering me, how many of you guys benefited from the dollar Canadian yesterday? How many of you were long the dollar Canadian yesterday? Because I didn't ask. Milton, Esther, Robert, Adam, Malcolm, Brooks, Sean, Emin, Gary, Ron, that's Ron G, Ron A, Alina, Tom, Alan, Lynette, Ben, Rick, Nicholas, Ateem, Eric, Jeffrey, Qatar, George, Gary, Dan, Clay, DK was short the Canadian yen, Lou N, uh, Eddie, Michael, Gator made 100 pips, nice. Melissa's been long for a week. Alan says, where's the tip jar? Daryl said pound Canadian if that counts. It does. Lyle, yep. Okay, great. Thanks. And I'm sure there's more. A lot of people don't, a lot of people listen in here. They don't even answer me. I appreciate you guys and gals that do answer because, it makes me feel that, you're interacting with me and makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself sometimes. But, if you benefited from the dollar Canadian, or anything that we do, I don't ask for much. I don't sit here and say, hey, be a Wise Trade member, or, buy my paid webinar, because, well, first of all, the paid webinars are just usually if people ask me about them. And Wise Trade, I figure if you guys, ever want to spend more time with me than the 3.5 hours that you spend with me during the day, that you already do, then you'll come find me, with the Wise Trade group, and that's fine. And I'm not here to pitch you, but the only thing that I do ask of you all is, if I tweet out my webinar link, just share that info. If you find this webinar, the information that I provide here free to you every day for 3.5 hours a day, that's not to include the other hour that Paul broadcasts, the other hour that Chris Asaro broadcasts, 2 hours, excuse me, 2 hours that Kip broadcasts, or the other, uh, you know, 2 to 3 hours that Steve Bealby broadcasts every day. If you find those webinars and the webinars we do of value, please just tweet out the link. It's, just to let other traders that you interact with or that know about what we do. Okay, that's all I really ask. And obviously, if you see a chart that I tweet and you like it, tweet it. I appreciate that. So, um, thank you very much for your continued support. For those of you that always, have shown your support, I really appreciate that. And for those of you that are like, I should really, tweet that out, or, tell my other trader friends about it, I appreciate the support as well. So thank you.